Hi, Chuck Peters here from 714 Web. I'm going to give you a unique perspective on SEO. Most of the time when you hear about SEO, you hear about it from a techie SEO expert who is just that. They're an SEO expert. But I'm a business owner. I run a digital marketing agency, and we're in the top 1% of digital marketing agencies as far as revenue received, revenue generated for the last few years. And what I've learned is that you can't just look at SEO through the thin, small lens of the individual concepts or thoughts or mechanisms that might apply to just the person who's sitting behind the computer pushing the buttons. You have to think about SEO in terms of a business owner looking at other businesses in higher level concepts, and then you can drill down into minor concepts. So I'm going to give you a high level concept to think about when you think about SEO. First of all, there are three parties involved with SEO for any given business. There's your business, there's Google, and then there's the businesses that you're trying to attract. Those three entities, your potential client, Google, and you. So Google is in the middle. Google stands in the middle between you and the other people. Now, there's some kind of a reasoning why. You'd have to ask a psychologist. But we have a tendency to forget that Google.com, the search engine, is actually a business. Now, we know that on the one hand, we know that Alphabet is one of the biggest businesses in the world, but we don't always think about that when we're at Google.com typing stuff in. It's easy to forget that. But the reality is that Google has a brand, and they understand that in order to retain their market share, they have to provide a service that is relevant to today's users and to people. In other words, when you type something into Google.com, Google is choosing what results to show you or what to put on that page based primarily on what is in their own best interest, which they've chosen to align with what is in the best interest of their potential client, their user, the people that are searching. So in other words, what is best for Google is what is best for the end user according to Google. And that means that they're going to want to show search results that they think most closely align with the intended search or what the searcher is intending when they typed it in. Now, you go back to 15 or 20 years ago, to use a search engine, you had to know to put in Reebok plus shoes plus red, and you would get red Reebok shoes search results. You had to know how to use kind of the lingo, but Google quickly realized that ordinary people need to be able to use this, so they need to be able to type in Reeboks or red Reeboks and get the same results. And so as Google continues to evolve, now even with generative AI, they have the most recent update is called the helpful update. So they are evolving to a point as a company where they're trying to anticipate the needs of the end user. And they're doing it through various ways, a lot of data collection. They're using all the information they can get for each individual user to try and predict what they're actually looking for in combination with the search request. Everything you do on Google or in a Chrome browser is logged with your IP address. And you have a profile with Google just like you do with Facebook. And Google uses all the data on your profile and predictive modeling to help determine what it is you actually want to see when you type something into Google in combination with what you're searching for. That's why it feels like Google gets they just get, like, I was thinking about this, talking about this, and put it in. They're using a lot of different information to figure out what you're actually looking for. So they're trying to provide not just a list of websites, because a list of websites is not the best possible solution or thing to give a user. They want to give a user images. They want to give them what they call rich data. So for instance, if you were to Google two CEOs of Netflix, you're not going to get blog posts about it at the top. At the top, you're going to get what's called rich data, and it's going to be a box with information about that so that you don't have to click to another website. You can just view it right there, and there'll be links in there to click and read more about it. This rich data is a huge component to try and make Google's brand more valuable to the end user by bringing a more relevant return and by bringing, quite frankly, a cooler return on the search result. So, but that rich data it's Google, which means you can submit rich data. So there's the three concepts, right? There's you, Google, and the person. So the first concept is the connection between the two. So we've talked about Google and what their aim is, what their intent is. Now we need to talk about what your response is to that. So concept number one is who Google is, what they're trying to do, what their brand is trying to do. We've talked about. Now we're going to talk about your response to that. And your response to that is what is generally known as search engine optimization. And that's the optimization of your online presence to align with Google, who's trying to align with their own clientele, their own users who are using Google to search on. So how do you optimize for Google? You submit rich data. You use schema data and you use markup to tag your content so that when it gets indexed by Google, it's categorized more in depth, properly, and in the right places. So when you write a blog post, if you write a blog post about the upcoming elections, it's going to get tagged as political. This is by Google. Political, this party, that party, maybe a informative piece, maybe you got facts or links, whatever the different tags are, whatever the different ways of categorizing it are, it's going into a bunch of different places. And when people search, it's going to be in the list of results to show. Now, I just mentioned earlier that Google's trying to find cooler ways to present information. So if your blog post on the upcoming elections has a video and an image or a graphic and helpful content and enough of it, but not too much of it, then it's going to be considered more helpful and it's going to result in a cooler search result if they can display an image alongside your return. And they're going to show more often. So let's go one step further beyond schema data markup and getting your videos indexed and getting your images indexed and tagging them properly so that all of this goes into Google's library, because it's not guaranteed that your blog post is even going to make it into the pile of search results that could get shown. And it's not guaranteed that your video is going to make it either. And it's not guaranteed that your images are either. But there's ways to tag them and categorize them and transmit the data to Google that it needs in order to end up in the right pile. So let's go one step beyond that though. Let's talk about whether or not that information is relevant. Is it relevant to the headline? Is it relevant to the URL? Is it relevant to itself, within itself? And is it relevant to the end user? One of the ways to make content that is the most relevant to the end user is to answer questions that people most commonly ask. And you see this when you do a search, you're going to find people also ask. Google has a pile of commonly asked questions. And oftentimes we may fumble through a search and we don't really know what we're trying to find out. Then we see that box that says people also ask. And these are questions and follow-up questions that are more information about what I'm looking for. Well, those are commonly asked questions, and Google provides that data publicly. And we go and find out what the people are going to ask, what the common questions are, and then we write content to answer those questions. That makes our content the most helpful content that it can be. And we even use the meta description box to fill in the answer. So we'll ask the question as the headline, the URL will match, and H1 tags will match, and content will match, descriptions will match. But then in the meta description, we provide an answer to the question. And in that way, we're actually telling Google, hey, we have the answer to the question that people most commonly ask. And when you do this consistently, repeatedly, with good content, and I'm not talking about hitting up ChatGPT to write a 500-word piece on one topic. I'm talking about strategically using tools like Grammarly and ChatGPT and other tools where we create an outline, we know what we're trying to provide, and then we use these tools to assist us in crafting something that is the exact right amount of keyword dense, the exact right amount of relevant, and is not, it doesn't seem like it's coming from a computer. It's actually being engineered by a human being using multiple tools. When we're all done creating that content, we then publish it, and then we ask Google to index it, and then we check to see if it's been indexed. Sometimes we'll get feedback. Sometimes we know the wait time and this kind of stuff. Sometimes we have to go back in and change some stuff around, but we're going to make sure it gets indexed so that it ends up in a file that actually is eligible to show up in a search return. Working this way is a huge step above traditional SEO. That's why SEO prices range from $99 a month to $12,000 to $15,000 a month. Because for $99 a month, you can have ChatGPT crank out 100 pieces of content and throw them up on the web. That may not do anything for your site's ranking at all. However, well-crafted pieces that are just written just the right way, for just the right purpose, to answer just the right questions, providing just the right amount of data, not just in your content, but about your content to Google, getting it indexed, that's valuable. That's where, as a business owner, I see other business owners get returns on their investment. We have a program where from December 1st until the middle of March, December 1st, 2023 to the middle of March, 2024, we saw one customer get $40,000 return on their SEO investment. That's close to 10x return because we've been doing the job. Now, you got to keep in mind, we've been doing this job for a long time with this client, and their ROI creeps up slowly month after month after month. But the ROI was there, but it's there because we do a good job and we do it differently. Now, I haven't even begun to dive into all the things that we do on the website in general to make it so that it passes the Google inspection for what they're looking for in a website to be relevant, helpful, following standard guidelines, accessibility, page speed, and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to go over the connection between Google, the client, and you, and how we fit in with Google, how you fit in as a business owner, and what helps you rank. So there's also Google Business Profile to consider, there's page speed to consider, there's all kinds of different things to consider. But I wanted to give you the high-level overview. So thanks for watching, and feel free to reach out with any questions. Thank you.